Well, hello everybody, and welcome to day 2 of C&C Live. Right now, it's Colin here with Zack on day -1 of the Olympics, our second of 19 live streams on 19 consecutive days here every single day, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Time, and 12 a.m. in Paris, where Zack, another day of the Olympics, has just wrapped up
Awesome.
about an hour ago, and on this show, on this edition of C&C Live, our Olympic recap, we are going to be recapping the day's action in women's football, men's and women's archery, women's handball, and men's rugby, as well as we will give a preview, Zack, of tomorrow's opening ceremony and what could be one of the best opening ceremonies that we've seen at the Olympics, quite possibly. But yeah, Zack, I'll hand it over to you for a minute.
To be honest, I haven't been watching any of the Olympic stuff recently, so I'm gonna let you do most of the talking. I'll occasionally I'll comment, but I do very much like the Olympics, and I'm looking forward to watching it soon. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say
Yeah,
for right now.
and with the opening ceremony tomorrow, I believe every single member of the C&C Talks team is going to be here with us on this live stream to recap it. We're all going to be talking about what we liked, didn't like from the opening ceremony, which will begin tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Time, 1:30 Eastern, and should be going for a while. In fact, it might not end until just a couple minutes before we go live, so it'll really be an instant reaction tomorrow. But Zack, we're going to start our show today with where the opening ceremony hasn't even happened, and we already have a world record in these Olympics. This is in.
That's incredible.
Go ahead.
I just said that's incredible.
Yeah, already a world record in sport of women's archery. So in archery today, it was the ranking round. So for those unfamiliar of how the individual archery competition works in the Olympics, there's 64 athletes that compete in the competition, and on the first day, nobody's eliminated. Nobody really. It doesn't really help or hurt. Well, it does help and hurt some people. It essentially the ranking round decides the matchups. They all do a round of archery. I believe it's 72 arrows, so a possible 720 points, and you're based on the number of points you get. You are seeded uh, starting at number 1 and through 64, and from that they make essentially a bracket, which
Huh.
will, I believe, commence on Tuesday, this upcoming Tuesday, I believe, in women's and men's archery. But yeah, so today was that ranking round, and on the women's side, we got a score of 694. That is a world record and obviously an Olympic record too. The previous Olympic record set by San An of Korea with 680. Back in the Tokyo Olympics in 2021. The world record was set in 2019 by someone else out of Korea, Chaeyoung Kang, and this world record that was 692. This new world record, 694, also set by a Korean, Si-hyun Lim, out of South Korea, who now, of course, has that number 1 seed in archery, Zack, in the women's side.
Oh wow! And do you have any insight on like just I am not entirely sure how the actual scoring works. Do you have any sort of insight on how that might like 694 score, how that actually translates to the sport, I guess?
Yeah, so I believe it's 72 arrows, I believe, in a round of archery, and I believe you can get up to 10 points, right, in from an arrow. So
Oh, I see.
that's a possible 720 points. So Zack, a 694 is
Wow.
pretty.
Yeah.
You
I
they
mean,
you dropped
72 is a lot of
essentially you
chance.
dropped 26 points the entire ground.
Wow. I mean,
Which
in 72 is a lot of chances to miss. So to get 694 is
very
like
good.
impressive.
Very, very, very good. Certainly
Yeah.
I can't do it, and not very many people can. Well, in fact, I know no one else can except this person, because after all, it was a world record. The top American in the women's round, as Casey Kaufhold, who's got a 672. She will
Oh
be
wow.
she will be the fourth seed. Uh, other
What?
Americans
Oh wow.
Catalina, I have no idea how to say that name. Norwegia, I'm not entirely sure, actually. So 648 will be the 38 seed. So only one American in the top half. And then Jennifer Machino, it's a 625 for 57th, the 57 seed. And that does it for the Americans in the women's archery. In men's archery, as we will go over to that, the world record has previously and is still held by Brady Ellison with 702, which, Zach, at a 720 is absurd.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, because even if you miss one on 1 point on every shot, you're still going to be 72 points off from
Yeah.
like that's insane. That's kind of insane.
No, it's a lot. It's a lot of tens.
Yeah.
A lot of times hitting that bullseye. And in but so in so Brady Ellison, the American who had the world record, which was set back in 2019, is competing in these Olympics. Was not able to repeat his performance back from 2019. Not even especially close. He shot a 677, which is only good enough for seventh in qualifying. It's another Korean at the top, Woojin Kim, with a score of 682. So not even as good as the top woman in the ranking round. Jeodok Kim, it's second with us with a 682. So those are the top seeds. Other Americans in archery that were competing. Excuse me, sorry. That is the only American in men's archery competing.
Oh
Seventh
wow.
in qualifying, and represents America's only hope getting a medal in the Olympics, or
Wow.
in men's archery in the
Yeah,
Olympics.
not in the Olympics. That would be unfortunate. If we only had one athlete in all of the Olympics.
No, however, we do now know, as we'll switch away from archery, we do now know one medal that the Americans will not be getting, guaranteed, and that is men's rugby. They did manage to beat Uruguay in the final group stage game on Thursday morning to qualify for the knockout stage. But however, that's where their journey ended. They faced off against Argentina. Sorry, not Argentina, Australia. Excuse me, and it it could have gone a lot better, shall we say. A bad loss, 18-0, Zach.
Oh,
USA unable to get on the board against Australia. They frankly did better than that against Fiji, the defending champ. Now, Fiji, they obviously also they went 3-0 in the group, won the group, and faced off against Ireland in their first knockout stage game Thursday afternoon. And they were down 8. They were down multiple scores, but they came back and won 19-15 with very little time left at the end. They
wow.
were down multiple scores with like 5 minutes to go in the game, and they came back and won. So one of our semifinals, which will be taking place on Saturday, Fiji and Australia. That's a really, really solid matchup. Then the other one, France defeated Argentina. So far in these Olympics, the French fans, the home fans, have a lot to cheer about. We'll get to some of that more later, but they are also into the semifinals. And then, Zach, and somewhat of a shocker,
Yeah.
New Zealand and South Africa, they were in the same group as each other, and they played each other on excuse me, on Wednesday in the group stage, unless I'm mistaken. I actually might be. I'm going to go check on that quickly.
Hmm.
Yeah, they were, and New Zealand won 17-5. So,
Oh wow.
however, they were matched up against each other again in the knockout stage, and this time it was South Africa knocking off New Zealand, who has a
Wow.
reputation of being a pretty strong country in this sport.
Seems
They're
like
out
the
there.
islands are quite good.
The what?
The islands.
The islands are quite good, but
Sure,
not
you
this
make.
time. They're out. South Africa. So it's South Africa versus France and
Oh
Fiji versus Australia in the semifinals on Saturday, which is frankly a really, really strong final four. Three of those countries, of course, will be taking home medals on
yeah.
Saturday, and some of the first medals to be handed out in the Olympics.
Is rugby one of the first sports?
Yeah, the rugby final. The rugby final will take place early morning on Saturday, early morning American time. So one of the first medals to be handed out. Still, no medals are ever handed out before the opening ceremony. So Saturday will be the first day with medals for us to be able to talk about, and looking forward to that. But no,
Yeah,
a really, really, really strong group of men's rugby finalists.
that's awesome.
Moving on away from rugby we have two other sports. Zach, I'll let you choose football or handball first.
Let's go with handball, just because. Why not?
All right.
Kind of an interesting sport. I don't know too much about the scoring, but I've seen it played a couple times, and it's quite interesting.
Yeah. Scoring, you essentially just get 1 point every time you get it in the goal.
Oh, well,
Hey,
that's
don't worry, because I didn't know that before I watched it today too, and I think that's kind of one of the fun things about the Olympics is there's just so many sports, half of which you've never actually seen before.
and they keep adding them too.
They do keep adding them. In 2028, squash will make its debut.
That's hilarious.
Squash,
That's
as well as flag football and lacrosse, will debut in 2028, and cricket and baseball and softball will be back in 2028 to the LA Games. Speaking of future Olympics, yesterday the International Olympic Committee announced their locations for the 2030 Winter Olympics and the 2034 Winter Olympics. Zach, it's the French Alps that are going to be hosting in 2030 provisionally. It's dependent on a guarantee from the French government that they are unable to make that. And then 2034, the Winter Olympics will return to America, to somewhere that they've already been this century, Salt Lake City. What's your reaction to that, Zach?
Well, it's really awesome to have them in America again. I will say, it will be interesting in the Alps, the French Alps, because of the elevation. That could make some sports act very differently.
I mean, sure, you're always going to get some level of elevation in the Winter
Yeah.
Olympics, of course.
Right.
It's hard to find great places to hold the Winter Olympics near sea level.
Well, yeah, of course, but the Alps are quite high. So.
They are very high, so even more so than normal. Salt Lake. I still can't believe that Salt Lake City, which is just not that big of a city, is going to get to host two Winter Olympics in the same half century.
I wonder why that is. I wonder what the behind the scenes of that is.
Well, so Salt Lake City was the only city to submit a bid to host the 2034 Olympics.
Really?
And I think what you're finding is more and more cities are like, yeah, no, we don't want to put up with this whole Olympic stuff. It's terrible for our city economy. Right. Well, I mean, in the short term, it might be good, but long term, it's not good for the economy. It's there's little taxpayer support for hosting the Olympics usually. So I think most cities more and more don't want to do it. That if that you also combine it with the Winter Olympics with climate change, making there be many fewer locations that are plausible to have the Winter Olympics, and Salt Lake City is one of the cities that is capable of hosting it, and also for whatever reason still has an interest in doing so.
Yeah, which is really interesting. I guess that explains why it's in the Alps. I mean, because the higher you go, the easier it'll be to find snow, even with climate change. So I guess
Yep.
that's really part of the reason.
Here's an
It's
idea. What if we do the Winter Olympics without snow?
I mean, there is
Yeah.
the snow. You've seen
There's
that, right?
what?
The fake snow.
Yes. Did they? Am I wrong? I think they used some of that in the Beijing Olympics.
Yeah, I think they did. I'm pretty sure they did.
Now that's
Pretty,
extremely expensive. Um,
yeah.
and
Well,
if climate change keeps doing what it's doing to our planet, if we don't do something to stop it soon, I think that that's the future of all Winter Olympics.
yep. And yeah, maybe during the winter we'll just have fake snow.
Yep.
Go buy
Anyway,
the fake.
that's the only way we ever get snow in Seattle, anyway.
Yes. Well, oddly, recently we've had some very strange weather, and so
It's
we've
been a
got
few
snow.
years. No snow this past winter. Definitely no snow this past summer. That
No, definitely not.
can't believe I almost said that. All right. Anyway, you said handball next. Yeah, so let's move on to handball, the first day of the group stage in women's handball. And how the format works here is there's two groups of 6 teams each, so 12 teams total. The top 4 teams advance out of each group after a round robin. They'll each play 5 matches, alternating essentially every other day. And the 6 matches today. U.S. does not have a handball team in either men's or women's. So
Really?
yeah, I think it's primarily a European sport. We did see some teams from elsewhere, but that's primarily where we've seen these teams from. So Slovenia versus Denmark. Denmark won that game 27-19.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Netherlands and Angola.
Oh,
Netherlands won that one in a tight match, actually. Spain and Brazil. Brazil actually beat Spain. I was watching that pretty early in the morning. I was semi-watching that and
ooh,
semi-sleeping.
that's a heated matchup.
Yes. Yep. Korea and Germany. Korea actually beat Germany. That was ended up being a 1-point match. Very, very good. And then there were 2 more. France, Hungary. France, again, I've said France has done very, very well to start these Olympics. This was no exception. They beat Hungary by 3, and really after the first few minutes of the match, Hungary was just playing catch up the entire time, and they were unable to catch up. And then the final one, Sweden and Norway. I was not watching that. I was watching the U.S. Women's soccer game, but Sweden ended up winning that 32-28.
Oh wow. Well, I was fixing up that.
What?
That's pretty close. Or
Yeah,
is it?
no, I think like pretty much all the handball matches so far are close. I don't have context from before the Olympics to know about our matches tend to be that close. But there hasn't really been a blowout. I think I missed a match. I'm gonna make sure that I did not miss a match. All right.
Yeah.
Results. I got those, and then the other group. No, I got them all.
You got them all.
One other comment I'll say about the Spain Brazil match was it was incredibly low scoring, 29-18, but especially early on in the match.
What's like an average score for handball? Do you know? I mean, I know you just got it.
No, I just know comparatively to the other matches, this one just looked like it was a defense fest.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the matches are an hour long, and each time you get it in the goal, it's a point. So that's not even 29-18, I think is what I said. Yeah, that's not even a point a minute. That is a bit of a blowout, though. Probably I think that was the largest difference of any match. Yeah.
Almost 10 points.
Yeah. I would guess that matches where both teams are in the high 20s or low 30s is probably about normal, though.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. And then finally, before we preview the opening ceremony tomorrow, football, women's football getting underway here at the Olympics, and we'll start in Group A. Canada and New Zealand, France and Colombia. If Canada gets the win over New Zealand, France gets the win over Colombia. You might remember Canada has a history of being pretty good at soccer. However,
Yeah.
they, as well as a lot of other top teams, were knocked out in the group stage of the Women's World Cup, which was in New Zealand and Australia. Looking to avenge that a little bit, they get the win over New Zealand. Then France gets the win over Colombia, 3-2. France, another pretty strong soccer program. Group B, this is the United States' group, the US, Germany, Australia, and Zambia. There's really three pretty good countries in here in US, Germany, and Australia, and Zambia's not awful. US got 3 early goals against Zambia, and they stood for the rest of the match. Zambia never really looked like they had a shot, though, in fairness, fairly early on. They had a player with a red card, so they were down a player for the majority of the match, but they did a good job of not allowing the U.S. to get more than the initial 3. The U.S. came close. They had opportunities. They were not able to convert them. But this, obviously, it's not against the elite competition that the U.S. is used to playing against. But they looked definitively better than they looked last year after the disastrous performance at the Women's World Cup. They got knocked out in the round of 16 for the first time in the nation's history.
Oh, wow. That's not great.
Yeah. Now, Germany, another team that has a history of being great at women's soccer, but had a disappointing Women's World Cup. They didn't even make it to the knockout stage. 3-0 win for them over Australia today. Australia is decent competition too, so that's a pretty big win for Germany. And then in Group C, Spain, the defending Women's World Cup champions, they took down Japan 2-1. Brazil beat Nigeria 1-0. I think in general, Zach, it's fair to say it has not been the greatest of starts for African nations at the Olympics, with the exception of Morocco taking down Argentina in soccer in men's soccer yesterday.
No, not at all. Yeah. Although, yeah.
Now, that being said, Zach, tomorrow is a big, big day at the Olympics. There are no sports, no events going on, but there is the opening ceremony. And Zach, this is going to be one of the more unique opening ceremonies that we've seen.
Really? I'm curious.
Yeah.
What are they planning for it?
So obviously, we're not entirely sure what's going to happen at all of the creative portions. We do know that some of the French dancers are threatening to strike because, of course, they are.
Wow.
But what really makes it unique is instead of doing the Parade of Nations in a stadium, they're putting all the athletes on boats and sending each country down in a boat down the Seine.
Oh, that's really cool.
So
that's quite cool.
I believe they're also timing that parade to coincide with the sunset.
Oh wow, that's going to be quite cool. Just don't touch the water.
So I believe they actually are doing events like some of the open water swimming events in the Seine.
No.
Yes.
No, not after people have literally been defecating in the water.
Well, so the plan for a while has been to after the Olympics open up the Seine to the public for swimming.
Yeah.
And
Macron
and the mayor of Paris essentially said, "Yeah, no, the water's safe to swim in. Look, we'll even go swimming in it to show everybody that it's safe." And then when they were going to do it, the people protested by pooping in the water that day.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, to be honest, I I don't really understand the protest. Like if I lived in Paris, I would want, a clean river. So
Yeah. If your idea of a good protest is polluting the waters of your country,
yeah, it's not a great idea because it only affects you.
yeah, it's a funny protest, but it's not a good protest.
No, it's not. I mean, because you're the one drinking and using that water, so no, it's not affecting anybody else.
Yeah. Um. Zack, another big performance that we are anticipating at the Olympics is a duet with Lady Gaga
Oh,
and somebody that we have not seen sing in public since 2020, and that is Celine Dion.
what, we haven't seen Celine Dion in public since 2020?
Well, we haven't seen her sing in public. Actually, I believe she did at the end of 2023, but she has not sang much in public since then.
Really?
Yeah, due to
I was not aware of this.
yeah, I believe due to some sort of illness or yeah, a rare condition with I
Interesting.
believe with her vocal cords.
Oh no. Wow,
Yeah,
that's like the worst thing for a singer to have.
yeah, her stiff person syndrome is apparently what it's called, suffering from the a rare condition marked by uncontrolled and severe spasms, which she says
Oh,
has sometimes caused difficulties walking and using her vocal cords appropriately, according to Billboard.
wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so it's a big deal for her to be making this performance at the opening ceremonies tomorrow. That should be really fun. Look forward to.
Yeah.
We'll also of course see who's going to be the person that lights the torch in the cauldron. We
Yeah.
do know that at some point in the torch relay tomorrow, Snoop Dogg will be participating.
Really? He
Yeah.
seems to be at all of these big sports events recently.
Well, so do they allow pot in France?
I'm not actually sure, but I'm not actually sure.
Because if they didn't, then there's no way that he would actually show up, I feel like. I hear you typing away at trying to figure that question out.
No, it's illegal, at least federally. I don't know what what their rules around different provinces are, but
Remind me why he's there? Because he's not just there for the opening ceremony. He's going to play apparently a fairly major role in NBC's primetime presentation of the Olympics.
hasn't he said multiple times that he like at different points, I don't know when the most recent time was, that he decided to stop or something, which seems hard to believe, but
didn't he like do that and then like in order to, like to promote some smokeless product?
really?
I think so.
Huh. Well, I know that apparently there's like cigarettes with herbs or something, that which I don't really see how that's much better. I mean, of course you're not getting the horrible chemicals necessarily, but you're still inhaling smoke. So
Yeah, like isn't the problem the smoke?
I mean, that's definitely like a good portion of the problem.
Yeah. I love that we're supposed to be talking about the Olympics. Instead, we're talking about France's marijuana regulations.
Yes. Yeah.
They are maybe related, probably not. We do also know, I believe a Japanese gymnast has been forced to withdraw from the Olympics. Shoko Miyata forced to withdraw after smoking and drinking alcohol. This is from CNN. She broke the team's code of conduct, which prohibits that during team activities, regardless of age. However, the legal smoking and drinking age in Japan is 20, and Miyata is 19. So,
So So this was probably seen as like an opportunity, I guess, because I'm sure in most European countries the drinking age is lower than it is in a lot
Yeah,
of
it's
other
like
places.
18. But Zach, you don't think that like people drink alcohol illegally in Japan? They definitely do here.
Oh, they definitely do. But I'm sure that it's. I mean, for somebody who's as public as that, normally they wouldn't want to commit a crime, but at the same time, well, you know, uh, they were just kicked out, so that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would not do that on team activities if I had the chance to compete in the Olympics, which is like a once in a lifetime
Yeah,
occurrence.
absolutely.
Like
I mean,
that's
and,
just
and also it's like, do you want the chance to possibly win a gold medal and prove that you're basically the best at what you do, or do you want
here.
to have a drink that you can wait like maybe a couple years and
Yeah,
get under?
exactly. So again, this was less about the age, more about just doing it during team activities, regardless of age.
Or
So
even,
I
yeah,
think
what
I
about,
think this was ended up being a mutual decision between the athlete and the Japanese Gymnastics Association for her to withdraw. Although that's what they say. I think in reality, it really wasn't up to her.
and what is like what qualifies as a team activity?
Um,
Just
I don't know
training, or
if I mean I don't
is it?
know. I would assume though that if the team has traveled to Paris for the Olympics, then that and they're staying in Paris while they, compete in the Olympics, I'm going to assume that that qualifies.
Yeah, that that makes sense. Yeah. So I guess it. You were gonna talk about. Oh no, you already talked about football.
We talked about all the sports today. We have we've touched on the opening ceremony that we're looking forward to tomorrow. Again, that begins 7:30 p.m. In Paris, so 1:30 p.m. Eastern time, 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. We believe it'll go for roughly 4 hours. And so we will look forward to that. And of course, we will be back here tomorrow at the same time after that to recap that for day 3 of our live
Okay.
streams, day 0 of the Olympics. And then the day after that is when the Olympics really, really begin in earnest. Saturday is going to be a fun day to get underway with 14 medals being handed out and the start of the competitions in volleyball, beach volleyball, tennis, table tennis, surfing, skateboarding, shooting, a medal event in rugby, competitions in rowing, judo, handball, more handball, gymnastics will get underway, more soccer, start of field hockey, fencing, equestrian, road cycling, canoe slalom, boxing, basketball, badminton, water polo, swimming, diving. That's just Saturday, Zach.
Wow. So there's gonna be no shortage of content to talk about, for
No, and
sure.
we'll be here for all of it across every single day of
Yes.
these Olympic Games. That is now 2 live streams down and 17 more live streams for us to go
Yes.
here at C&C Talks. We can't wait to keep that going. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Make sure that you subscribe to the C&C Talks podcast. Episodes coming out weekly, including we just had an episode drop just yesterday. It's available to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere else that you listen to podcasts, and of course on our website, cctalks.com, where in addition you can learn everything you need to know about the show. So check us out there. Check us out on Twitter at CC Talks Podcast. Check out Charlie at CC Talks Charlie. You can join us on Discord at cctalks.com/Discord. Please connect with us there. We'd love to get more people into our Discord server, but for now, for Morris, for Charlie, for Zach, and everybody here at C&C Talks, thanks for listening, and we will see you on C&C Live tomorrow after the opening ceremony.